everyone. This podcast is brought to you by the Chartered Institute of Building, aka CIOB, the world's largest and most influential professional body of construction management and leadership, with around 50,000 members in more than 100 countries. Our members past and present have had a hand in executing many groundbreaking construction projects around the globe, from the Houses of Parliament in London and the Sydney Opera House through to venues for the Beijing and London Olympics. Charter membership provides you with the recognition of your abilities, knowledge, and experience within the industry, creating more exciting career opportunities. Do not forget to become a student member for free today. Welcome to another enlightening interview episode. I'm your host, Daisy Wu, the podcast in Victoria representing the student, graduate, and young professionals community within the Chartered Institute of Building Oceania chapter. I would like to welcome all my listeners to Conversations with Construction Connoisseurs, the show that aims to advance construction management education and give access to that knowledge to young students and professionals so that it can be shared and added to. Listen to our thoughts on leading issues in the industry. We're really thrilled to evolve our Conversations with Construction Connoisseurs series, where we can lean into the growth journey of aspiring and accomplished student leaders and emerging professionals in the built environment. So today, we have the immense pleasure to take a glimpse into the growth journey of Prakash Rodrigo, a dedicated and resourceful student leader in the community of the University of New South Wales, who currently works as a cadet project manager at Turner Townsend based in Sydney. Welcome, Prakash. Could you please give us an introduction of yourself?
Hi, Daisy. First of all, thank you very much for having me. So as an introduction about myself, I'm an international student from Sri Lanka, studying my bachelor's in construction management and property at the University of New South Wales. And I'm currently in my final year. And apart from my studies, from my extracurricular work, I am the treasurer for the University of New South Wales Built Environment Student Association, known as PESA, and also the treasurer for the UNSW Rebel Cup, and also the co-president for the UNSW Sri Lankan Society. And apart from my extracurricular work, I'm currently working as a cadet project manager at Turner Townsend, and been working there for the last 6 months. And furthermore, I'm also currently reading 2 professional qualifications known as Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, known as CIMA, it's equivalent to CPA Australia, and also the Certified Associate Project Management PMI certification.
Wow, that sounds like a really amazing and diversified blend of experience and dedications. Good on you. So moving on to our icebreaking questions. Who is your most admired person and why?
I would say I actually don't have much people in the corporate world as of yet, but for now, I think for now and even in the future, surely it will be my family, my mom and dad, and my brother. My mom and dad, they worked hard to send me here to Australia to do my studies and to make sure that I don't miss anything in when I'm continuing my studies, not feeling any hardships. And also when it comes to leadership, I always look up to my brother, who has been a great leader in his university back in Sri Lanka, and being a people-oriented leader. That's what I want to say. And being so I would say it's always my family when it comes to a role model. Thank you.
Yeah, that also sounds like a very strong support mechanism that you can always, look up to and also fall back on whenever you face hardships and, roadblocks.
Yes.
Family aside, do you have any music or book that you can crunch in your spare time and fall back on, like when you have to grind and push hard through some hard times?
I would say there's this movie called The Lion. I'm pretty sure if you have watched the movie, and there's a song called Never Give Up by Sia. I think that's a very good song, and the movie was also very beautiful. So I think that's a song that I normally go and listen to when I need some motivation, and the lyrics are very beautiful. So I think it's a very good song. And also in terms of the book, I'm not much of a bookworm, but when I came to Sydney, Australia, one of my friends gifted me a book to read when I have time. So it's the book we all have read. I'm pretty sure it's the Rich Dad and Poor Dad a book. So it's a very good book, and I think that's a very good book to read. Yeah.
It is, as I can validate, and it is also not the first time that this book has been recommended by our podcast guests. So excellent. Do you have any other hobbies that you can do in your leisure time and to grow your skills in?
I'm a person who normally takes a walk around. I don't know whether you call that a hobby, but I normally go to the parks around just to take a walk. To observe the nature and those kind of things. I really love to take a walk around those parks, and I normally go to Barangaroo, where you sit back and relax and enjoy the view. So I go with my friends most of the time. Most of the time I normally go by myself and enjoy the view and come back home.
Excellent. Life in Sydney sounds so much like a dream.
Yes, true.
Have you checked Melbourne off from your travel bucket list?
Yes, I mean, I have plans to come to Melbourne. I had plans for this to come to Melbourne in July, but due to COVID restrictions and quarantine rules, I had to back down from it. So I said, okay. I told my friends. My friends are very sad about it because few of my friends are going back to my home country after their studies, and some people are going to other countries for their further education. So due to those reasons, I won't be able to see them for the last time. So it's a bit unfortunate, but hopefully in the coming future, surely by December, if everything's back to normal, I'll be able to visit Melbourne.
Yeah, and I guess you must have been picturing your headspace for so many times the moment you reunite and for them to really celebrate your achievements by far and those achievements that you will have between now and any time when you meet them again, which I'm sure.
Yeah, I know. Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, thanks for the introduction. We look forward to talking to you further in the next phase of the episode. So Prakash, as you're progressing and you're near the end of your current degree at UNSW, namely your first ever degree in Australia, it is your second construction management degree. So could you fill us in on why you opted for this degree and why you opted for Australia in the first place as your destination to further your education?
Well, if I go back to when I was after high school, I mean, we all don't know what we should do in our future, and those kind of factors are coming into play. But what I would say is I really wanted to wanted to pursue my future in the management side rather than pursuing a degree in engineering. I have a mathematics background, and I've passed all my exams to qualify to study engineering. But then I thought, I mean, I don't want to study engineering. It's not because of hard work or whatsoever. I prefer to be in the project management, or maybe, well, forget about the project management. I would say the management side. So I was, going through a few degrees that matches my expectations and where I want to be in the future. Then I found project management is a good degree to study. But if you ask me why construction, it's all because my father works for a tier 1 construction company in Sri Lanka. It's Access Internationals, and the construction company is the Access Engineering PLC. So he works for that company, and that's one of the reasons why I chose the construction industry specifically. And in terms of why I chose to come to Australia, I would say the quality of education, number one. Well, when I researched about the universities where I wanted to study, I always looked at what are the top universities that I can get my degree in, and UNSW and even University of Melbourne, they had the degree. And but then I thought most of my friends were in Melbourne, but then I thought, okay, I'm not gonna go to Melbourne, but I'm gonna change the state and see what's gonna happen. And I checked UNSW, their degree and the rankings and how the quality of education is, the reviews, and what those past students and the present students. By the time what they mentioned about the university. And because of after considering all those reasons, I thought maybe UNSW is the best option to come and do my studies. And apart from that, I think the opportunities here in Australia, you have, if you go and grab the opportunity at the right time, in the right way, I think you have enough of opportunities to grow as a person and win your life. And also, and I have an expectation. I mean, considering for other countries, I have an expectation to stay in Australia a bit longer. So, I mean, considering the graduate visa and then maybe the permanent residency later on. So, considering all those factors as well, I decided to come to Australia. So, yeah, I mean, so far it's been a great country. I love the culture, I love the people. So, I'm enjoying the country and looking forward for more experience and adventure for the next 10 to 15 years also.
Thank you very much, Prakash. I'm really glad to then learn that you've been traversing on such a path where you're traversing and pursuing aligned opportunities as you did by far and will constantly be doing. And circling to underlying your why behind choosing the construction degree, I really appreciate the family background and family exposure that really offers the unparalleled sort of clarity and clue for you to make a more informed decision.
Yes.
And it's good that it's panned out so far to be one that offers exciting opportunities, not to mention your new chapter in Australia, which has so far unfolded with so many other opportunities for you to grow and as you said, upgrade your skills as a person. Yeah, I guess noticeably throughout your dedication in the student community, in so doing, growing into a very resourceful student leader and young professional. So thank you very much, Prakash. So acknowledgeably, the COVID climate has been continuing statewide and nationwide. So you would have already deciphered some challenges and what you may deem as a roadblock to magnifying your student experience and other dedications in Australia. Could you briefly state them?
In terms of pre-COVID pandemic, I would say the only challenge I had was, picking the right group to work with in group assignments. That's one of the biggest challenges because you have to make sure that you work with a good group to get good marks. But there are other courses that challenges you to work with people whom you haven't worked with before. So that's one of the biggest challenges. I mean, in terms of in your coursework, in your degree, and I think that's a very good challenge that the university offers to students, even those courses as well, because they have a very good reason behind it. It's the reason that you have to, when you go to the industry, you have to work with people whom you haven't worked with before, and plus if they get a project, they tell you to go and work with people whom they assign you to work with. So it's a very good exposure for us as well, even for students, could be anyone. So it also helps you to develop good leadership skills if you want to if you want to be the group member, group leader of the group. So I'm the person who always leads the group when it comes to group assignments. For the last, I would say 20 courses, maybe if there were 15 courses where we had group assignments, out of 15 at least would have led 13 to 14 groups. So it's a bit challenging, but it's always about, if you have a plan and if you make a plan, if you make small milestones every day for the group, you can achieve that. It can achieve a good mark. But in terms of post-pandemic, I would say it's very bad. I mean, for me, I prefer going for lectures in person. I'm more like an in-person lectures guy more rather than staying online, and because staying online can distract you. A lot of things can distract you, so it's a bit hard in terms of online. But when you go to face to face, sometimes you have that advantage to go for lectures and see what's happening in this week's lecture, and to get an idea what's the whole content about, and whether you need to work hard for this week content. I'm normally, I plan my work like that. So if it's something like, I would say it's a very tough unit for that particular week. So I would say I normally take some time to go back home and then study a bit and to understand the concepts and those kind of things. But when it comes to online, your head tells you, your brain tells you, or you have time, you can make time and then do your studies, and you have enough of time, so you can make time and study. So which sometimes never happens, and then what you do is when you don't have time, you try to accommodate this with watching the lecture recorded lectures later on in a two speed two speed, and so it goes very fast, and then you don't understand what's going on, and then again you go back, and then again you watch the videos and stuff. So it's a bit challenging. So I'm a person who prefers in-person lectures. So hopefully not too sure for the next 5 to 6 months since I'm graduating this year, but hopefully for the future students will get the opportunity to come back to university and start studying in person.
Yeah, thanks Prakash, for your very open and heartfelt answer. I guess acknowledgeably we can't really help with those externalities, namely the evolving and pivoting situation COVID-wise and or anything that can happen external to us. But as you pinpointed, which truly identifies you as a very strong professional or strong student with a growth mindset, this is a very critical time or crunch time for you to develop and upgrade your self-leadership, leading yourself, leading your mind, and mastering your mind in this unprecedented time, like you said. But I think evidently you've outgrown the point where you panic and where you dread not being able to do well and survive. You've evidently thrived from the situation and set a very high standard for your peers to benchmark against as a role model. So could you please just highlight in a few sentences the highlights of your degree from the onset? What do you enjoy the most?
Well, I would say the people, the friends I have made for the last 2.5 years, they are all very supportive friends. This is apart from the coursework I'm talking about. So friends who are very supportive in your studies, and especially when it comes to they also have achieved a lot of things in their lives, working in big companies like Lendlease, Multiplex, ProBuild, Build, those big companies. So it's really good to have those friends in your network as well. So I think that's one of the biggest achievements I've made in my degree in terms of studies perspective. So it's one of the key highlights. And also I would say I've been helping my friends in terms of there are any hard courses we have. So I have been helping them free tutoring, if I would say. So it's because I always have this mindset, like it's not always about you. It's not you're not the only person who needs to get a degree. So there are people who need your help and your input. So I've been helping them there was this one course we had. So I've helped them personally, putting up a Zoom meeting and help them out. It's like I said, it's we all started the degree together. We all have to go to the finish line together, and maybe in the future, when they are in a better place, they will help you when it's needed. So it's a give and take sometimes, but yeah, it's one of the key highlights, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah. So as I was latching on to your narration, I couldn't stop picturing the latest face-to-face panel moderation we successfully held earlier in the year at News Victoria, featuring 3 consultants from your company, Turner Townsend, based in Melbourne. So that panel was themed around interdependence and independence as pivotal to one's career development. So as a TNT professional as well yourself, you've definitely gotten the hang of it. And it is really rare that at this phase of the career, you've developed this sort of appreciation and also internalize that in your daily practices, like you said. Lending out helps voluntarily to your peers without expecting them to reciprocate. But like you said, it is an act of kindness that they deserve. And like you expect of yourself.
Yeah.
You certainly stood out to be in our members community as one that's in great alignment with the name of this emerging series that we plan to name after the emerging stars. So whilst being in your third year and last year studying in UNSW in Australia, you've already so far got a spread of student leadership tenures successfully accomplished under your belt, as highlighted by your executive committee roles at the UNSW Environment Student Association and also the Liberal Club. I know that you recently escalated and rose to the presidency of the Sri Lankan Society from the previous Treasury roles. So with all of these in the background, Prakash, could you walk us through all the roles briefly as an overview in the recent years and some of the proudest achievements and highlights?
Well, I would say that being a treasurer for the societies and also be the co-president. Apart from that, I was a mentor for the student association and for our faculty. So it was one of the other volunteering work that I have done. And if I would talk about the achievements, I think getting these roles is one of the greatest achievements you can have, because there are a lot of students competing for these roles, and you have to win an election to be or to work as the treasurer. So, or even to be the co-president, you need to get the relevant votes and get through the votes to be elected as a president. So, I mean, if I talk about apart from achieving those positions, I would say I was able to I was able to become student faculty. It was a paid opportunity, but I was able to share my knowledge in terms of the infrastructure course with the students. So it was over 100 students. So it was one of the greatest achievements as well. So being able to present your knowledge and share your knowledge with the students. So I think that was one of the greatest achievements as well. So yeah,
it surely is. So considering the spread of experience, I noticed you seem to have a great appetite for treasury roles. So what is it that in a treasury role that you really enjoyed about? And how does that align with, as I just freshly learned, your dedications toward getting the CP accreditation?
Yeah, so it's I would say I have a few since I've been studying Chartered Institute of Management Accountant (CIMA) in Sri Lanka, and I have just one more exam to get through, and then I'm qualified accountant. But so I have that accountancy knowledge. But we all know, as even though we go and study accounting degree, we don't use 10% of that knowledge to our club society work, because you just have to produce an income statement, and have to make sure that you keep in track about the invoices and those kind of things to make sure that you present it to the student body at the end. I mean, so that's one of the key things. Having that accountancy background, gave me the boost when you go and pitch for those elections as well, saying I have this background, so people can give you that trust, say, okay, this man has that competency to look after the money. And so being a good treasurer for my Sri Lankan Society, so I was elected as treasurer for the Faculty Built Environment Association last year. So this will be my final year, so there are no hopes on further escalating into another position. But for Sri Lankan Society, I was able to manage the money well, and had my leadership skills were showcased, and I was able to become the president. I think one thing I need to emphasize this is that doing all these things, you should know how to manage your studies well as well, because you are here to you're coming to university. I mean, yes, you have to do extracurricular work. That's one of the important things if you want to grow yourself as a person. But the other thing is that you have to make sure that you balance your studies well. So if I would speak about my how I balance my education, I always make a proper fixed timetable. It can be flexible in the last 3 to 4 weeks depending on the workload. So I used to have a very stick or very fixed timetable that I normally comply with. So since I was working part-time as well, apart from my extracurricular work, I always make sure, okay, so I wake up at 7 to 8 a.m. and study until maybe 11, 12 or whatsoever. Or maybe sometimes, if the course content is very, light for that particular week, so I finish it within maybe 2 or 3 hours or whatsoever. And then, start maybe if there's any curricular work I have to look into. I normally give some focus for that particular society and give my contribution for that particular time. And then maybe for work, so I worked as a cleaner earlier, and then I had to go for 40 to 50 kilometers away from where I am, so I have to make some time for that as well. So it's always about managing your time, even though when you're doing curricular work. But always remember, don't pressure yourself, and don't stress out. If you have to ask yourself whether can you handle 3 societies at once. If you can't handle it, don't do it. Do it. If you think it's 2 societies, then do it. So if you think it's not the case, I'll just stick into 1 society. That's also fine, because either way, you have to grow as a person, grow as an individual, and you have so much of learning doing your extracurricular work. So once I think in 2019 or 20, I would say, I was working part time. I was doing mentoring. I was doing extracurricular work, and still I was able to get the Dean's List, to be in the Dean's List award for 2020, doing all these things. So it's all about who you are, what you can do, what you're capable of, and what your appetite is to get and do your work. So yeah.
Thank you, Prakash, for a great load of important lessons and discourses, which I'm sure our target audience will find really enlightening and insightful. So yes, we have the podcast and video available for you to revisit and regurgitate all the time. That's the gist of it, isn't it? So before it slips my mind, Prakash, congratulations again on being awarded the Dean's List recently in recognition of your academic merits from 2019 to 2020. And I'm sure you'll be surely in a position to keep the streak. Who knows? And if I were to echo one of the things I really find speaking to me, that is your outlook that really aligns with mine in terms of energy management. Yes, it's remarkable that you can accomplish and take on various roles and thrive and deliver values in different avenues, work, study, and volunteering. But like you highlighted, it's also important for us to weigh things up and to be able to say no and to vet the opportunities before leaping into it. Because you don't want to deliver anything wishy-washy, and it doesn't come down to just decorating your curriculum vitae and LinkedIn profile with just a line of experience. Just being a treasurer or executive committee, if you don't have anything under your belt to stop pay, what you've delivered and how you've grown in this role. It's all about the growth and experience themselves, not something too superficial or nominal.
Yes, correct. You should know, because in the end, if you can't do your studies, if you're just focusing on your extracurricular work, and if your studies are going in the negative way or the bad way, then there is something wrong with your decisions that you have made. So you have to know that how to balance it. Just be happy with you. We all different to one another. Sometimes there are people who can do 10 things at once, or maybe there are people who can do only 1 thing at once. Either way, it's always about you learn and grow as a person, and then start taking that extra step forward in the next coming few years, when that I am an individual who can do much more better. So it's good to stretch that boundary a bit in the coming years, or maybe the coming months, or whatsoever. Either way, if that is benefiting for yourself as a person to grow, and then as if that thing is benefiting for the community as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to have the aspiration to do more, but it also makes sense to just hustle slowly. And this is a kind of a really recent revelation in my personal life, which I don't mind sharing just briefly here with you and the audience. I reckon that it's also critical that we set aside some time for ourselves to have the so-called midday, or just some time for you to sit down with your thoughts and your recent ideas, and just to let your mind percolate. And also, more importantly, you have to also recharge yourself to acquire new skill, to get exposed to new ideas. Because eventually, you can only give what you have. If you don't have anything in your headspace, you can't help others properly, I guess.
Yes, that's correct. That's a good statement. It's a very good statement. Yes, I agree with you, Daisy. I do 100% agree with what you said. So you have to have time with yourself. It's not always, giving time, for extracurricular work. You have to have time because you need a break to your mental health as well. So go out. So that's why I said, I'm more like a person in terms of my hobbies. I go out, take a walk, maybe enjoy the view and come back home. So you get that mental relief and then focus on your next thing or maybe next mission for that particular day.
Yep, that's really excellently said. So on the back of that, I'm sure you'll be managing it well for sure in the next course of 3 to 6 months. But in the meantime, what do you aspire to accomplish?
Well, we have a few events coming up lined up, for our two societies. So for Built Environment Association, we are planning to have a vivid cruise. So we are looking forward to pull a great event for the community who's in the built environment faculty of the school. So it's going to be a good time for the students. Hopefully, COVID won't come and kick us out. And the other thing, I think, as the treasurer for for the Liberal Club and the UNSW Built Environment Association, I will be there for another 3 more months, and then the new committee will come up and take it. But as the co-president for the Sri Lankan Student Society, I have a big responsibility because it was a bit dead for the last year because we couldn't do much events and no international students came in, and it was a tough year for our community. So I went through the plans. The New South Wales government, they came up with a pilot plan to bring up the international students in. So we have to make sure that we promote our club to make sure that we bring up the community in and start events. So as a co-president, I have responsibilities in that. So I have 6 to 8 more months in that society until next year. I will be there until the new committee is elected. But for the other 2 societies, I'll be leaving in the next 3 to 4 months. But always happy with the commitments that I've done for the society for the last 1.5, 2 years. And so I'm pretty sure I will be leaving society in good terms. Yeah.
I'm sure you will be. All the best onwards and upwards.
Thank you very much.
Right, so thanks Prakash for walking us through your recent development in the University of New South Wales community in Australia. That has evidently laid a very concrete foundation for you to transition successfully in the corporate space. So let's now direct the conversation to steer towards your professional career in Australia, which you started recently at Turner Townsend, which is a prominent industry leader in the consulting space. So far, in your capacity and role as the cadet project manager, do you have any important and exciting aspect that you found really enticing about the role itself and the company itself?
So first of all, I think I'm very, very grateful for my director Adrian Maclay, who gave me the opportunity to work at Turner Townsend. And ever since I started working, the staff, they're very, very supportive, and they were very, very friendly. So people were very nice. People are very nice there. So it's good to work for a company who actually helps you out in terms of your career. Because I don't have much. I did an internship in Sri Lanka at Access Projects Private Limited. So I was working in a residential apartment in Rajagiri, Sri Lanka. So I was working there as a civil engineering intern, and then slowly moved into the project management side of it at the end of the internship. So it was a good experience for me and to learn and to see what's happening in the industry. But when I got back to Australia, and then I started working at Turner Townsend, I think people are very nice, and they're very supportive. So in terms of what I'm enjoying at the moment is that I've been exposed, even though I have a construction background, or maybe I'm studying construction degree, I've been exposed to work in the electrical infrastructure side as well, the mechanical and the plumbing side. So and then I'm working at a renovation project where TAFE New South Wales renovating all their campuses in New South Wales. So working that's a very huge project that I'm working on. And it's like, even though when you're studying a degree, you will understand that it's not always about construction. Yes, you're studying construction project management, you are specialized in construction, but you also learn about project management in general. So it's all about you apply your knowledge based on the industry or based on where you will be put into work. So you just have to know what this project is about, and then do your own understanding and learning, and then progress further. So I think it's great exposure. I'm very thankful for my director, and so as my senior project manager, Charles Passion, who's like giving me that exposure and putting me into projects and giving me more responsibilities to work on, even though I'm working as a cadet. So that's great experience for me.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. That really sounds quite exciting, the exposure and the opportunity to be able to put across a very diverse portfolio of projects, including some mega projects as you pinpointed, and also in doing so, growing your competency and having the exposure to multiple facets of the TNT business, and also to be able to practically apply, like you said, the project management body of knowledge, which is not to be confused with the construction body of knowledge on itself. So what is it that you really particularly enjoy or find exciting to learn more about the project management profession? Understanding that in many people we've interviewed, whenever we ask why construction, they always say they love being hands-on to delivering the physical legacy. But working as a client-side consultant, you're slightly away from the actual delivery side. So what is it that drew into the PM space?
So one of the great things is that you get to work with different clients and different projects at once. So if I take one cadet in my university batch, so they're working. So she's working in the Sydney fish market. So she's working only on that project particularly. So for me, I'm not just focusing on the renovation project that I spoke about, the TAFE New South Wales. So I am being exposed for other projects as well. So I've been working multiple projects at once rather than working or focusing on one project. So that's a very good, exposure or the responsibility that is given to you, even though you're a cadet. You're studying and you're still learning about the industry and how project management works. So so I'm a person who loves to take responsibilities, and I think working for a consulting firm, you get that exposure, and you're being challenged every single day. You're being challenged. So that's a very good thing, I think, for especially for a cadet and who's still doing the degree. And so it's and also when you have so much of responsibilities in your head in your workplace, and also being able to score very well and do your studies also, and also doing curricular work, that's a very, very good exposure, and it helps you to grow as a person. And also the company supports you. Even Turner Townsend, like they always tell me, we care about your studies. So they always accommodate my studies as well, apart from work. So that's a very good thing about Turner Townsend. And also, like I said, always when I go and work, there is something to do that I have to go and work for. So that's something I really enjoy, and that responsibility is something that I need to highlight.
What is the one thing that you're honing on learning right now, as you're surely in the course of liaising and working and learning from a really wide spread of internal and external stakeholders that's integral to your work?
So currently, since my main focus is on the renovation project for TAFE New South Wales, they're renovating all the campuses in New South Wales. So my main focus, my manager has given me is to look after the project finances properly. So I have been given the sole responsibility, to be honest. So I'm looking after more than $20 million of budgets and invoices, everything to make sure everything is on budget. If the money start overrunning the budget, so whenever any invoice or any cost matters comes into play, he always refers to me and speak to the client if there are any issues to talk about. So that's a very good responsibility. I think that's something that I'm mainly focusing on right now. But in the background, of course, there are, you have to speak with the contractors, you have to go to the meetings, make sure that you follow up with the action items, take the minutes, speak with contractors, especially with the clients. So that's in the background. But like I said earlier, main focus is to make sure that project is running, on budget. So we're not going over the budget. So that's my main focus on.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. And in light of our interview by far, I really got the impression that you've already honed and upgraded a lot of acumen that are critical to transitioning into your exact current role. But to probably give us one practical example, could you just show us how you've married your volunteering role to developing in your current role?
So I think planning is number one. Planning is the best thing that I can give, apart from the communication. Because if you go and you go anywhere, you have to do the communication very well. So if I put those things aside, and if the one highlighted thing would be the planning. Planning is key, because even when you're doing your extracurricular work, you have to know what to prioritize first. And when you're doing your studies, if you are having a challenging course to do in that particular semester, you have to prioritize for that course first, and then the other courses follow on. Even when it comes to work, you have to understand what's the so my manager comes and gives me work, saying this work is urgent, so make sure that you finish it by this time. And there are other works also that comes into play and say this work is also urgent, so make sure you give it around this time. So I have to know what's the deadline, and okay, if he tells me to finish this part A work by 1 p.m, part B work by, let's say, 1:30 or 2 p.m. So I have to understand, okay, looking at the work, how I can plan this, and how to make sure I have to send them send my work for their review. So it's all about planning. I think planning is something that I've learned during my volunteering work and also doing my studies, and which was very helpful, in work. So I'm pretty sure I will be challenged more next year. So I'm looking forward to it. So whatever it is, if you have planned very well, you're not going to stress too much in work. So it's all about planning, and I think that's one highlighted thing that I have experienced in terms of the transition.
Well, off the top of my head, I couldn't think of a better quote to sum up what you just articulated, which is the quote by Benjamin Franklin, namely, if you fail to plan, you're planned to fail.
Yes, correct. That's 100%.
That's to Benjamin Franklin and Prakash.
Yeah.
Okay, so thanks very much again, Prakash, for sharing a glimpse into your professional career freshly in Australia right now, where you're surely able to learn and grow from liaising and working alongside a very diverse cross-section of professionals and industry leaders. So congratulations again for securing this position, and also wish you all the best in the next course of scaling your career.